All right, it's 6:30, so I'm going to start the meeting, Mount Scottney School Board, March 8th, 2023, because we need to do a reorganization. So I am going to call the meeting to order. And then the first item on the agenda is to open up nominations for the chair for the Mount Scottney School District Board. So I will take nominations for the chair. Can she hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Nancy's here. Hi, Nancy, welcome.
I'm going to nominate Elizabeth Burrows for the chair of the Mount Scottney School District.
Did everyone online hear that?
No. What did she say?
Nominating Elizabeth Burrows, chair of Mount Scottney School District.
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, I will close the nominations, and then I believe we need to vote. So we will.
I can't hear you very well at all, Christine.
Elizabeth, is that better? Is that better?
Is anybody talking
Hello,
right
yes.
now?
Yes, Nancy. Can you hear me, Nancy?
I am confused. What?
I will move that and unmute my computer.
Okay, they're canceling school.
Should I call up and tell Sam?
Sure. I can't hear. I have to leave.
Bill, can you hear?
Yes, barely.
Barely. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear as well, but it seems a little muffled in the room.
Well, I will try muting the owl and speaking into my computer, and we'll see if that's better. Hold on. Is this better? 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 I don't think that works.
No, but much more interesting.
Okay, that's not gonna work. Okay, can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay, good. We have a nomination for chair. Rebecca nominated Elizabeth Burrows. We close nominations and we're going to take a vote.
Ah, good.
All right. So, Bill.
Aye.
Nancy.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Elizabeth. Oh, she didn't vote for herself. Sorry about that.
Of course she can.
Okay.
She can, yes.
Elizabeth, would you like to vote for yourself as chair?
I prefer to abstain.
Okay. And Amy cannot vote tonight until after election things. So that is, Elizabeth, congratulations. You are the chair of the Mount Scottney School Board, and you are now in charge of the meeting. Passing it off to you.
Thank you. I'd like to first thank you, board, for your trust and your confidence. And I also, before anything else, want to publicly thank our voters for passing our budget. So that, okay, the next item is the vice chair. I'll take a nomination for vice chair.
I nominate Bill Yates.
I'd
I'm
second
gonna-
that nomination.
I'm going to step back from that because I was the vice chair of the, I believe, of the SU board.
Correct.
Can I be both?
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
Do you accept the nomination, Bill?
I do.
Sorry. Okay, I'll take a second in the nomination of Bill Yates for vice chair.
Second.
Okay. Um, Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye. Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Bill?
I'm
How do
not
you vote?
shy. Aye.
Okay. Okay, so Bill will now be vice chair of our Mount Scottney School Board. Next is clerk of the board. Yes, clerk of the board. Who was clerk of the board last time? Davis. I'll take a nomination for clerk of the board.
I nominate Davis McGraw.
And I second it.
Okay. Davis, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Good. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rebecca, how do you vote? Rebecca, can you hear me?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So Davis, congratulations. You are now clerk of the board. And who was signer of the manifest last time? Was that you, Nancy?
No, was it you, Bill?
I'm the guy that goes in and signs all the budget stuff.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll take
that's
a
me.
motion for signer of the manifest.
I nominate Bill.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy.
Bill, logistically, if it's harder for you to get to Windsor, I live right in town, so I'd be happy to
No,
take
that's
that one.
no,
Okay.
that's fine. I got to go in
Okay.
and pick up Daniel at Bridging the Gap anyway. So
Okay.
Do I have a second for Bill as signer of the manifest?
In that case, I second for Bill.
Okay. Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Bill, how do you vote?
aye.
And I am an aye. So that means congratulations, Bill. You now have 3 hats. Yep. Well, 4 or 5, if you can include the board, 2 board membership. Okay. Davis, here's your chance. Backup signer. I'll take a nomination for a backup signer of the manifest.
Davis
I nominate Davis, and I do have to say that in January we really needed somebody for this because I was out with COVID and they had to wait for me to come in.
Good. I second.
Okay. Bill, Davis, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Congratulations, Davis. You are now the backup signer of the manifest. Have you done that before, Davis?
I haven't, but it sounds like I would just go in and sign documents if needed, if Bill wasn't available.
Yes. And if you do that, you have to look through what all of the charges are. Be careful to look through everything, not just sign.
I can do that.
Okay. And don't be shy about asking questions.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
I'm always shy when I do.
Okay, here's another hat, and its name is SU Bargaining Council. I'll take a nomination for SU Bargaining Council.
Who was on it last year?
Bill.
That was me.
I nominate Bill.
Yeah, we're up.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Rebecca, how do you vote? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Bill, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Here's a question. Did you not, do we have SU Bargaining Council this year?
We do.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
We're trying to get started this spring because next year's the last year on the contract.
okay, just making sure.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Nancy, how do you vote?
I,
Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So congratulations, Bill, on your 6th hat of SU Bargaining Council. Okay. Next is appointing our truant officer, who has for the last couple of years been Paul Favreau. I'll take a motion to continue Paul Favreau as truant officer.
So moved, Davis.
Second, Rebecca.
Okay. Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
I,
And Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And congratulations, Officer Favreau. Thank you for being with us another year. And now our newspapers, which have been the Eagle Times, the Vermont Standard, and the Valley News for the last several years. Does anybody have any objections to our continuing with those newspapers, or would anybody like to add or subtract a newspaper?
Elizabeth, the digger is listed on here as well.
Okay, VT Digger and VT Digger. Hudson, I see your hand.
That was me. I was gonna say something about the digger, but never mind.
Okay, thank you.
Is what's the readership of the Eagle Times? Are we being redundant with the Eagle Times and the Valley News, or?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, I think, to be perfectly honest, when we assign a newspaper, my feeling is that when we assign a newspaper to be one of our official newspapers, then they might be more inclined to cover things that happen in our district.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah, I think there's substantial overlap in readership. I know that Eagle Times covers a little bit, maybe more like the southerly part of the Upper Valley, but I think we should keep them in there because having more folks at the table and more people getting our information is a good thing. So
I read it.
yeah, me too.
So does anybody want to add anything else? Okay, hearing none. Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Bill, how about you? How do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how about you? How do you vote?
I.
Okay. And the time, place, and day of our meeting.
Wait a second.
Oh,
Don't-
sorry. Hartford
don't we
area.
Don't we do the treasurer?
That's coming.
Oh, good. Okay.
Not to worry.
Okay.
Representative to the Hartford Area Technical Center.
Oh.
Who did that last time?
Bill?
Bill.
Bill, would you like to continue that? Or I'll take it, or rather, I'll take a nomination for a representative to the Hartford Area Technical Center.
I nominate Bill.
Bill, do you accept that nomination?
Sure.
You sure?
No, I don't want.
It's your eighth hat.
Well, is there anyone else who wants to take it over?
I'll consider, I would take it over because I am, my prior guidance years worked with the Hartford Technical Center. But I know that it's really ideal for you, Bill, because you're right there physically. And thinking, how many meetings are you talking about during the year that would require me to be?
Half a dozen.
Half a dozen?
It's a quarterly bill?
It's about, yeah. There's probably 4 meetings. I mean, I think it would be advantageous to have someone else from the board do it, just because I know everything there is to know about the Hartford, the tech center, or just about as all their information is at my fingertips. You know, right now I could look up how many students they have, what programs they have, how each of their sections of each of their courses are designed, because I design everything. So I think I appreciate Rebecca stepping forward. I think the more the knowledge of the Mount Scottney School Board we have of the tech center, the more we could make informed decisions.
Yeah, I would step up if, yeah, I have no problems with that.
Okay, then I need who was it who nominated Bill?
I did.
So I need you to withdraw your nomination, Nancy.
I withdraw my nomination, and
Okay.
I nominate now Rebecca.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Davis.
Okay. Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Bill, how do you vote?
Absolutely, aye.
And Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye, I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Good. And I am an aye. And so congratulations, Rebecca, and thank you for offering to do that.
If I could interject, there is a meeting tomorrow. And it is because of the weather, it is going to be remote. I can send you that information and that link, Rebecca, and if you can't do it, just let me know and I'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we have the next item on our agenda is the time, place, and day of our meeting. Our current day is the first Monday of the month. How does everybody feel about at 6:30? How does everybody feel about that? Or would anybody prefer a different day of the month?
Works for
I
me.
thought we were the second.
Our current time is the second Monday of the month. Does everybody like that, or would anybody like to replace that, change that time? The thing that's nice about that time is that it gives us 2 weeks between, 2 weeks between meetings, because we have the SU board on the last Monday of the month currently.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. And I'd like to point out, I am also happy with the fact our meetings have shortened up considerably and have become much more efficient.
Mm-hmm. I like the second and the fourth, or whatever it is, what we're doing currently.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to keep our meeting time the second Monday of the month at 6:30 p.m.
I move that we do that.
Is there a second?
Second, Rebecca?
Okay. Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. And then next we have the district treasurer. Nancy, were you district treasurer?
Yes. And I have signed a lot of things, and my major duty is making sure we get checks to the athletic account after these scholarships are sent out. And this year it went perfectly. Last year it took 9 months to do it, but got it.
Okay, I'll take a nomination for district treasurer.
I nominate Nancy Edward.
Okay.
Second, Davis.
Okay. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Nancy, I forgot to ask you whether you accepted the nomination.
We
Do you
finally
accept the nomination?
it finally is. I have all the context finally. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. And I am an aye. So congratulations, Nancy, and thank you for stepping up to do that. And lastly, we have district clerk. And this is a district clerk is a position that can be filled by anybody, I believe. Is that right? And it's been suggested by both the Secretary of State and the Vermont School Board Association that we have the town clerk and the district clerk be the same person, just for the sake of efficiency and streamlining. So I will take a nomination for, can I make a nomination?
Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Amy McMullen to be our district clerk.
Second, Rebecca.
Okay, Amy, do you accept the nomination?
This is Amy. I accept the nomination.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Congratulations, Amy. Thank you for agreeing to be the district clerk. And that brings us to the end of the reorganization portion of this meeting. Next on our agenda is changes to the agenda. I have one change. I see, Hudson, you have your hand up. One change is that we are not going to discuss no small matter. I'm not sure why it's on our agenda. I apologize. That's my error, probably. And I would like to instead add public outreach in its very place. And Hudson, what's your change?
We are going to have to scratch the weight room high school discussion.
Okay. All together or just for this month?
Until further notice.
Okay. Okay. And okay, are there any other changes to the agenda? Christine, I see your hand. Is that your hand?
Yeah, not a change, just that we'll need an executive session tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And next on our agenda is the approval of minutes. I will take a motion to approve the minutes as currently written.
So moved.
Okay.
Second, Rebecca.
Uh, okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So those minutes have been approved. Next is public participation and announcements. If you'll hang on a second, I have a statement to read, which goes like this. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. If you do have something to say, please identify yourself and where you live in advance. Okay, first, let's see. Oh, Kate, can you please make the announcement about the Windsor High School basketball team, the girls basketball team? Are you here, Kate?
Sure. Yep, I'm here. Thanks. So Windsor High School girls basketball team won the D3 state championship for the second year in a row.
Woohoo! And hooray!
Yep. And I think they had their banner hanging night from last year.
Aw,
Just at the end of the season. I think it's worth noting that all the girls who played last year came home from college to go. And I think that's a testament to the program.
aw. Thank you for that, Kate. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
And let's see. I would like to I have two things to say, and one is Hudson Ranney, our board member, our student board representative, did present his bill to the Vermont House of Representatives Committee on Education. And Hudson, if you'd like to speak briefly about the bill and your presentation.
So our bill is Act H0259, which would require all public high schools and with school boards to require 2 non-voting student representative seats. Basically using our Mount Scottney School District application process with the same rules and guidelines. So we're just waiting to hear back.
Excellent. Okay. Just two small kind of housekeeping announcements before we get to public participation. One is apparently there were some people who were upset that we didn't have our February meeting. And I just wanted to explain on behalf of the board that the reason we didn't have our February meeting is that it was going to fall during winter break. And we had a choice between having the meeting without the principals present or not having the meeting until the principals could be present. And we decided to have the meeting with the principals present. It's as simple as that. There was nothing else there. Let's see. Thank you for being patient and waiting for this meeting. And let's see. I guess another thing that happened since our last meeting was that our board agreed to a settlement with Tiffany Riley, and that we are unable to discuss the specific number terms of the settlement until the payments have been made in full. However, we can say with 100% certainty that payments are being made by the Vermont School Board's Insurance Trust, and that those premiums did not go up for us any more than they did. They did go up, but they went up for everybody across the state. And so, okay. I see a couple of hands up. Amy, I think your hand went up first, and then Mr. Warts.
I believe it was the other way around.
Okay, thank you. Is
You're
it
welcome.
Warts or Wertz? Mr. Wertz?
There we go. So fix it down. Yeah,
Could
thank
you
you.
please advise us of the correct pronunciation of your name?
Wirtz is fine, but you're not going to offend me either way. So my name's Dan Wirtz. I live in Windsor. You alluded to it there, Elizabeth. This is I know the first meeting for the Mount Scottney School Board after the finalization of the settlement, and understandably, if you can't speak to financial terms, but I hope, given that the vast majority of the board still, as is currently constituted, was the case when the decision was made. Given the legal process, the finding of facts and all that you might consider admitting you were wrong at any point, or at least that you did something that was wrong to a person that did not deserve it. You talk a lot about restorative justice, and I know that's a big topic and focus area. And you might consider what restorative justice would look like for the perpetrators of such wrong yourselves, and if there's ever any responsibility at all taken, much less public admission of wrong. And I'll keep it at that.
Thank you. Amy?
Hello. I want to speak with regard to town meeting this last Tuesday. And for the record, I was present at the Windsor polls for the duration of town meeting on March 7th, 2023. My purpose of being present was to serve in my capacity of town clerk. I did not campaign. I did not coerce anyone to vote for me. I was present while votes were being counted, but I did not participate in the counting of ballots. In hindsight, I see the poor judgment of being present for the duration of the day, and if I find myself in a similar situation in the future, I will assign someone to serve in my place. On March 10th, 2023, Caitlin Gould sent me an email conceding the election. This afternoon, I was informed that she submitted paperwork requesting a formal recount. The recount will take place not less than 2 nor more than 5 days from the time the petition is received, and that is based on Title 17, Section 2684. The procedures for a recount of a local election using the Australian ballot system are found in Title 17, 2685A. In this case, the Board of Civil Authority shall appoint a voter of the municipality to perform the duties of the town clerk under this section. And again, that is Title 17, 2685A. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Or is there any other public participation? Does anybody else have any announcements?
I did. I was wondering if, because I saw that there were, and I hear that teachers are beginning to retire.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if we can either talk about it or put it on the schedule for the next meeting about creating a committee to explore recruitment efforts, as we're going to be experiencing them already. We probably are, but so I don't know how we go about that, Christine.
I think there's a committee that's already being formed, so I will, are you interested in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our HR person is, Tina, is really interested in kind of grow your own. and-
Exactly, you know, talking
Yeah.
about some different
Yeah.
options, grow
Yeah.
our own or
Yeah.
whatever, but yeah, let's,
So I will get her in touch with you if that's
sounds
okay.
good,
Okay.
thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Yes, you have a hand in the room.
Oh,
Missy, do you want to just?
Sure.
Okay.
Can
you, let us know if you can hear or can't hear.
you hear me? I'm a loud person. I'm sure you can.
Yes.
just fine, thank you.
Okay. Misty Booten. I live here in Windsor. I just had two things. So as far as the newspaper goes, you guys have BT Digger on here. Are you talking about newspaper of record where you would put formal things out to the public?
Yeah, that's normally what we use
Okay.
our newspapers for,
So
right?
the BT Digger, you cannot, they're not a newspaper, they're just a website. They actually, legislation told them, that they cannot be, used as, a newspaper of record. So that you might want to look into that.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm just curious, as far as ballot chain of custody, where the ballots were transported from West Windsor to Windsor, how did that happen? Was it,
They were transported by the West Windsor members of the Board of Civil Authority.
was it secured though? Was there a receipt? Was it counted how many left West Windsor? Was it recounted when it reached Windsor? And was there a receipt given?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry.
Well, I think that we should know that because the integrity of the election is very questionable right now. There's a lot of questions, that's just one. And I'm not gonna go into all of them, but I do think that should be looked into. And the people of town should know that happened. I have other questions, but I'm gonna let everybody move on. I'm sure that these questions will come to the board in other forms. Thank you.
Just for the sake of clarity, I don't think that there was anything in terms of transporting the ballots. I think it was strictly followed state procedure. And if there was a form that needed to be filled out, then it was filled out, but it was not any different. It was people who are sworn to protect the ballots did transport the ballots.
Okay,
Just for the sake of clarification.
Yeah.
I have a question on that one.
Yep, there's another question.
My name is Molly Madison. I'm also a Windsor resident. So once the ballots come to Windsor, they're secured in the town office, is that correct? Which is also, I mean, I appreciate Amy coming forward and saying her piece, but in all reality, she had access to the ballots. Again, Misty, I think, said it well. There's going to be more to come down the road, but I would go for a revote, not a recount necessarily, because I think the town, we should be made aware of these kind of things and given the chance to revote after some things come to light. I don't really think that there was a lot of just sketchy stuff.
Just to clarify, I believe the ballots were supposed to be secured by Mr. Marsh, and if he didn't do that, I don't think that is.
Amy have access with a key though? I mean, I believe Amy has access to everything in the town office, correct?
I really don't know, but I
Probably am to find the answers.
don't think there was anything that was out of the ordinary.
Question that though. I do think a lot of people think there was a lot out of the ordinary, including Amy being in the room while the votes were happening. We're putting your ballots in. And then teachers were feeling teachers were voting and feeling extremely awkward, putting their votes into the ballot box with Amy standing there looking at them. I've had teachers reach out to me saying, that was so uncomfortable.
And just to clarify, this is some would say a tradition in the state of Vermont that candidates hang around the ballot polls all day long, waiting, and that's what they do. I did it. Everybody, in Waterbury, the candidates are the ones who are there all day long from the opening of the polls until the last ballot is counted. So it's all over our state. It's what people do. And I don't think that was that's not unusual anywhere. And according to the Secretary of State, it's just not a thing. And that was from the Secretary of State herself. So just to clear up that that's not it's not really a concern. Does anybody else have a comment that they'd like to make?
Yes, you have another.
Yes, I'm Caitlin Gould. I'm from Windsor. First, thank you, Amy, for coming forward. Friday, I did send an email. Following that email, I received a lot of communication from community members, voters. I don't know if they were voters for me or for Amy, but again, with a lot of concerns for the validity of this election. And that's where my desire or my intention for the recount came from, as to preserve the integrity of the election, to preserve the integrity of the board and of our town. That's my main concern. I've had people reach out to me who were involved in the counting process. I'm not going to name names that can state that Amy was part of that process of counting. So I just, I am concerned of the misinformation that may be going around. I think we're going to hear stories from all parties on what happened and what didn't happen. But I think it's important, the board, there's a lot in question right now, and just the integrity and accountability with the decisions and the processes that are being following, unfortunately, I hate to bring it back, but to Tiffany Riley's situation. I think it's really important. This is a great opportunity to show integrity and accountability for our actions, and the honesty for our processes, is to really look into this and to see what happened, what went wrong, what could have gone different. If the votes don't go my way, that's fine. But again, it's all about, I want to preserve the integrity. I want to make sure that the voters feel their voice is heard and respected, and that their votes matter. That's what's most important here. And just, understanding that some of these processes that have been in line for so long may need to be looked at, may need to be reevaluated, especially when you have individuals who are involved at the town level running for other sections within the town. How are we going to do that moving forward so that we don't find ourselves in these situations? Knowing right from wrong when you're in those situations of what that looks like as well is something that should be considered. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Unknown, could you please identify yourself?
This is David Thecky. I live in Windsor, Vermont.
Okay. Wait, I'm sorry, what's your last name? Could you spell it for me, please?
This is David Thecky, Theettge.
Okay, thank you.
We have an issue here, whether or not you guys think there is. And for anyone to say that there isn't an issue is just crazy. How come there was no school clerk to oversee the election? You guys, as a school board, failed to make an appointment for a full year. The municipal clerks have no responsibility for school district elections. As a result, there was no one assigned official responsibility for school voting in Windsor and West Windsor on election day. Is there an answer for that?
There is an answer for that. We did have a clerk for the school, but she couldn't make it to the election. And that's it.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
That's it.
It happened. I mean, it happened.
As a registered Windsor voter, I will say that I felt very, very uncomfortable to be grilled when I was trying to hand in my vote for school board because there was somebody running, standing right next to it. And I don't care what you say, that is not right. She should not have been in the building. And I know she has already apologized for it. But man, you guys have to do better. The last year, man, you guys really need to step your game up. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Tom, can you please identify your first and last name?
Yes, good evening. This is Tom Marsh, and I just wanted to make two clarifications. One, nobody approached me about the security of the ballots. I can confirm that the ballots were accessible to the public and unlocked. And I heard my name brought into that, and that is just not true. The second thing is, Elizabeth, you mentioned how it's common, almost expect to have candidates hang out at the polls, and that's absolutely true. Outside the polls, within 75 feet of the polls, in this instance, there was a candidate standing at the ballot box when the ballots were going in the box. So I don't have any commentary on that. I just want to clarify those two issues. Thank you.
Well, and to clarify, Tom, I have certainly been inside the polls on several different occasions on election day.
And
Not
that's
just
that is a violation of statute.
It's not glad handing or campaigning. It's just observing what's happening. I am also a voter. So I have come into the polls to thank the people who are running the polls. I have come into the polls to thank the ballot counters, and I have been on site when the ballots were being counted, but I wasn't counting ballots, but I was present. So
I would suggest you seek clarification from the Secretary of State if that is acceptable behavior on a candidate, because we have town clerks that admonish candidates for coming into the polls. That's what that 75-foot line is. I'm not the Secretary of State, obviously, but I think if that is the impression, that should be checked.
okay, hold on a second. Let's see. I sent a message to the Secretary of State, Sarah Copeland-Hansis, and I said a school board member who was present for the ballot counting last night is worried this morning that she should not have been present when ballots were being counted, even though she was not counting them. The response I received was, I doubt that is a problem. I'm checking with our council. If she wasn't counting, I can't think of any law that was broken. The process is open to the public just as long as nobody is interfering with the count.
Absolutely correct, but nothing to do with being in the polls while the polls are open.
Okay. Thank you. And again, I am also a voter, so I think it's okay to be in the polls if you're also a voter. Okay. Casey Dillingham and Dan Wartz. You're gonna have to wait, Dan Wartz, since you've already spoken. Casey Dillingham?
Hey, this is actually Bill Goki. I'm using her phone.
Okay. Then you're
hey.
gonna have to wait until after, since you've already spoken till
Nope.
after.
Nope, I haven't.
What's that?
I haven't spoken.
Okay.
So I'm a parent of a kid that goes to Weathersfield, and also another kid that will go to Weathersfield. And I know this doesn't have a lot to do with my school board directly. However, this whole school board makes up the SU board that directly affects my school. So I just have another concern for some integrity issues. I happen to work at the rec center where the poll is taken, and I never saw any sample ballots posted. I was wondering if you had posted them somewhere else that the public could see them. The town had their ballot posted, but I did not see a school board ballot posted. And I believe that's a violation. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Davis. You're muted, Davis.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Joe, I just want a clarification. Are you talking about the Windsor ballots or the Wethersfield ballots, or polling place?
I'm talking about the Windsor ballots. There was
Okay.
no Windsor School Board sample ballot hanging where the public could see before the polls. There was a local town ballot, sample ballot. There was no school board ballot.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification. Thanks.
Thank you.
I know that there was no sample ballot in advance of Election Day in West Windsor, but I don't think that was true in Windsor. Is that, Tom, are you still with us? Can you clarify that, please?
We do have a bulletin board in the town hall and in the rec center, and I did not see warnings or ballots from the school at either.
Okay. On that, Christine, are you able to speak to that?
Well, sorry, no, I'm just unmute that. I had heard that there was not a warning posted at the West Windsor town office. I was not in the know that there wasn't one at the Windsor town office. I know that Lori sent the warning. And typically what happens is when the warning is sent over email, it's printed and posted. When we found out it wasn't posted in West Windsor, I called the elections office, I called their attorney, and they instructed me to post it as soon as we heard, which we did, and to hold a public validation meeting, which needs to be warned 30 days ahead of the meeting, which we will warn for April 19th, I believe. It's a public meeting, and we will essentially say that the meeting was not warned properly and talk about what we did to try to mitigate that. Another thing that I have spoken with JD at the elections office is that we need to meet as a school district clerk and town clerk and town manager and whoever else needs to be involved with JD at the state and sit down and figure out a process that's going to work for all involved so that it goes much more smoothly in the future. But what I was told and confirmed with legal counsel is that we need to warn the meeting and we need to share what happened and talk about how we tried to fix it.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Yep. Dan Wartz.
I'll stay brief. It's Elizabeth, you mentioned the capacity of a voter at the same time as running for office, but it very much exceeds. I'm a voter. I go to the poll. I drop my ballot in the Mount Escutney School District box that Amy was standing there and watching all day. It would then exceed my capacity as a voter to stay there and watch everybody else all day, would it not?
Yes,
and
I
of
agree.
course,
I
so
agree.
you agree. Yep. Tom, I agree with about the state statute, and you agree that it is not in the capacity of a voter to stand and watch a ballot box. It sounds like you really need a greater independent hearing of the scope of these issues because they sound systemic, mass, and a heck of a lot more than can swing 18 votes. Thank you.
Bill, I'm inclined to. I appreciate you wanting to speak twice at our school board meeting, but I'm inclined to, unless you can keep it to one sentence, I'm inclined to disallow it since you're not a member of our community.
Yeah, and like I said, I can do that. Like I said before, this board directly affects my board. So what I'm gathering from this meeting is that there's a lot of integrity and accountability issues going on. It seems like for all the experience that's sitting on this board, it seems like you've failed to show that experience. You've missed some things, and I think it doesn't look good on your guys' part.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Bill, could you please put your hand down? And let's see, unknown is David, I believe.
Yes. Please tell me that you guys are actually going to take this serious, because from what I'm gathering, you truly aren't. And this is something you really need to take serious.
I wonder why do you think that we're not taking it seriously?
Because you hear Bill speaking and he's not saying something that you want to hear. So you're cutting him off, giving the excuse because he's not a voter in this town or whatever.
Well,
And
he's not a voter.
it's true.
I'm sorry, but he's not a voter in this
He
town.
works in this town. He grew up
He
here.
does work in this town.
We should
And
hear
he talks about
we
it.
should hear from people. Anyways, you just don't want to hear it. It's
I
okay.
did let him.
You
I
won't
did let him
admit it.
speak.
Have a good
Sir,
night. Thank you.
Thank you. I did let him speak. And while our board does have an effect on the supervisory union board, there is nothing about the supervisory union that has anything to do with our district's election. So, and I did let him speak a second time, but I'm not going to let him speak a second time and further deride our process. So thank you all for speaking up, and let's move on. Okay. Next is the admin report.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen for the administrators and turn it over to one of them.
All right, I'll go ahead and get us started. This transition. So what we're going to share today are some of the big ideas behind the actual education that we're providing for our students, including some highlights. We're going to talk a little bit about resignation retirements, which have already been brought up, and then the superintendent's message.
Oh, that's right. I've got to run off. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Sergio Simonovic here, representing the Windsor Elementary side of the building. I'll kick off the Windsor School admin report with a little update on our K-5 world. We are, as I noted in our last time together, digging into Leader in Me Core 2, which is really exciting, and drilling down from our supervisory union school now down to classroom WIGs, or wildly important goals, focused on foundational literacy. We are furthering that work with students developing their own student portfolios on their work, which is the gateway to student-led conferences, hopefully soon on down the road. So very exciting to see students doing the work of studying themselves and gathering data on all of their great work that we're really proud of. Next one seems somewhat timely, as winter decided to finally come back. We've got some skiing with the Scutney Outdoors. We'll send along some pictures in our next update of the big fun there. That's been great. It's looking like we may be wrapped up for the season, but so I hear there is a little more snow coming our way, possibly right now. So very exciting. Now that we are entering into March, we start to take a hard look at the architecture of our schedule for next year. Really excited to start to get our wants and needs all in one place and bring together the dream team of faculty and staff that make all of that happen. One of the big pushes this year as we look to create our schedule for next year is ways to make sure that our schedule is more student-centered around their needs and the school day. So looking forward to that work, and onward we go. Very excited. Hope us as possible this coming Thursday for our literacy night. It's a celebration tied to our wildly important goal of literacy instruction. We'll have many good things going on that night, including a community dinner and our Title I presentation. So very much looking forward to that, highlighting literacy here at Windsor School and highlighting the work of our amazing team and our amazing students. And again, hope to see as many community members that night as possible. There'll be some more details coming out about the nuts and bolts of it all, but looks great and hope you can join us.
Good evening, everyone. For the 6th through 8th grade, we are still working with our whole SU on our middle school model, and we're excited that our SU Middle School is going to be holding a dance in Heartland on April 7th for all of our students to be invited to. One of the other things we are working on are our wildly important goals in the middle school, which we are assessing weekly reading foundational skills with our teachers, using our passion periods to do some time to assess some of our win time to help our students with some of those skills and kind of get quick updates on how they're doing with those. The upcoming for our 8th graders, scheduling in the high school, they're getting more familiar with Ms. Ryan and Ms. Vivian and thinking about some of the things that they want for next year as freshmen. So we're looking forward to that and planning the rest of our school year. Ms. Ryan.
Thanks. There's a picture down there of our girls varsity championship team. I wanted to just point out. We are excited that March intensives are coming back to the high school, and we had these kind of stalled, as you know, 3 years ago today was kind of when COVID hit, and we canceled March intensives that year, and this is the first year they're back in pretty full force. We have some trips that are taking place within the state. We have self-defense courses. We have paramedic courses, we have science, we have the history of the town, we have games, we have just a lot of variety of passion projects for students and teachers. Really excited to announce that we are looking ahead to next year for our scheduling, and I shared with you the survey that was sent out. We are serious about making this a student-centered schedule and meeting students where they're at. So we're happy to announce that next year we're going to offer an independent learning center, which is in the beginning stages of planning, but it's an opt-in application process alternative that will be in our high school. Students will come in and they will be in a room with one teacher and another adult for support, and they will receive their 4 academics through a variety of methods. So their English class will have a teacher in the room. It'll be a combination of online and also real world English, learning how to read contracts, things like that. Their math and science will be taught by one of our high school teachers in the classroom. Again, it'll be local science, so it'll be a lot in Paradise Park, a lot outside. The math will be focused heavy on the fractions, but also dealing with mortgages, interest rates, things like that. And then our history will be offered, our social studies will be offered through history fair, which means the students will be giving a broad topic such as pioneers, and then they will focus down on what they have to do and then what they want to learn about, and then there'll be a celebration of learning where they can display it. Students then, this program will offer flexibility. It'll offer students support that they need during the day. It'll offer them the opportunity to access work studies or their regular old job in the afternoon, or design their own electives, or they can go right into an elective that we have here in Windsor. This is kind of a combination of that big picture push that we had a couple years ago that maybe we just weren't ready for, where students had a home base and they really drove their learning. But now our teachers are excited and enthused, and we had more than one teacher apply for this position. We're not adding any resources or any money to the budget for this. We're just allocating the ones that we have. So there'll be more info coming on this. We visited a couple schools to look at models. We're still doing that. but we're really excited about it, and we just wanted to share it here before it went out to the parents this week in our newsletter. Our last thing that we have to talk about is Leader in Me, but I'm going to turn that over to Hudson, who's here as our Leader in Me representative and our student rep.
Wait, what is Tom and Tom?
Student of the month and teacher of the month. Sorry, I can't.
Okay, thank you.
I can't see that. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So Hudson will
Thank
start
you.
his report in a few minutes.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is Rebecca. Okay, so it sounds really exciting with the scheduling. And I know that it's time for that for students for next year. So I'm wondering if as before students on that day where they identify what is it that they're interested in for the following year, if they're going to get some sort of an information sheet, something that they can sit down with their parents and sort of look at and say, okay, these are going to be some of my options. These are going to be some of the things that I'm interested in doing. So that's my first question. Will they have that sort of sheet?
So I'm trying to involve parents and students more. That's why it's student driven schedule. So we did the first step of sending out the survey. Our program of studies is being updated right now because I did share the results of the survey with our teachers and said these are the courses the students want. These are what departments they fall into, who would like to step up and teach these classes. Now the program of studies is being updated. That will go home with students and parents. Then Jess and I will be, and Kim Gogan, who is in charge of flexible pathways, will be talking with each grade level. They will be given time to talk this over with their parents, and if they want a one-on-one meeting, then that's also going to be possible. My hope is then once we have the numbers of our sending schools to be able to, typically our kids come from one of 3 schools, so I could just go visit. Jessica and I plan on going to visit those schools and talking to those students who are coming and inviting their parents so that they have the same opportunity to have the same knowledge as anyone, as the 8th graders in Windsor School.
Thank you. The other thing, Kate, that I just think may also be helpful for parents, because sometimes kids put things in their school bags and they never get home. And so I'm just wondering if that, not the program, well, the program of studies also, but if that sort of a schedule can be on, can go out in your newsletter or something so that parents at least have that additional place where they can get that information.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've got a question, Kate.
Sure.
How does fit in with personalized learning plans?
How does a new program fit in with personalized learning plan? I mean, I think it's a personalized learning plan brought to life, right?
Yeah. Right. That's what I was wondering. I mean, I think it's wonderful. It sounds great. And kudos to you for doing that.
Kudos. I mean, the teachers are excited. I had like kind of this realization where I'm always asking teachers to meet students where they're at, and I'm meeting the teachers right now where they're at, and their enthusiasm
Excellent.
and their excitement for making Windsor a better place is off the charts right now, and I just want to roll with that.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah,
that's
it is
really great. So cool. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hudson, were you going to go first?
No, I think he's going to go after because he has to share his screen, Jen. So we'll just wait if that's okay. Finish this one.
Okay, absolutely. So some ABS highlights, just wanted to share. We're really anchoring into the wildly important goals. Here's some examples of what the actual goals are per grade in our K through 4 right now. And then the pictures on the kind of upper, as you're looking at upper left hand, are just some examples of what those actually mean. So this teacher speak is the underneath the wigs, and then there's some pictures that show what those are. And then overall as a school, we've done some vertical alignment across all of the grades, and we have a school-wide wig, and that's displayed in our library that you can see up at the very top with our new mascot, the fox, which our students identified options for and voted on a couple of years ago. Super excited about that. And then I don't know if you want to just click for a couple, maybe 20 seconds on the video for our winter sports. Thank you. So just to highlight, when we talked at our annual meeting about the importance of developing the sense of belonging in order to mitigate trauma, particularly, and to help us evolve the way that we biologically grow. This is just a great example of community members and our students knowing each other. So our students are a part of the community. Windsor goes out there also, which is a great opportunity to have in our backyard, and it's for us, we don't even pay, which is, you know, a huge opportunity that doesn't happen in other towns. So I just wanted to share that out, that this is us actualizing what we talk about when we talk about making an environment that kids feel a sense of belonging and a sense of competence in, which we know are the primary drivers of internal or intrinsic motivation. So thank you all for voting for the budget, and we appreciate the ongoing support that we have from our communities. Passing it off.
All right, thanks, Jen. There we go. All right, who is presenting retirements and resignations?
Is this a school board thing or a principal thing?
It's a principal thing.
Great.
I can. So at Windsor, can you hear me? I'm just hiding in my car from my kids, by the way. So at Windsor, we have Julie Alward, who has announced her retirement, and Richard Zwicker. Historically, we will get lots of applications for a high school English teacher. Our theater teacher is not the same. We don't typically get a lot of applications. It is not, if you said we needed a math teacher or you needed something like that, I kind of have run that circle and would reach out and be able to put out feelers. This is not my forte. So if anyone knows a theater teacher, we did have one person exciting recently reach out. So please send anyone my way. Our resignations, sad to say, Elizabeth Martins, our school nurse who has been wonderful, has resigned, and Ashley Morse as well.
Are these positions being posted right now?
They are posted right now.
Anticipated until the board takes action. Okay. Yeah.
I can speak to Ashley Morse. That position has been shifted from our interventionist and now in our 3-4 classroom. And we have a person who's highly qualified in terms of background and experience, working to become officially qualified, serving as our temporary interventionist a couple days a week to fill that gap.
Thanks, Jen. So those are under items for action later on in the agenda. All right, so I have linked my report from January as we didn't meet in February. So that is available for you to look over if you haven't already. I will just say that the legislature is at crossover or near crossover, and we're gonna have a legislative update at our next SU board meeting on the 27th. Elizabeth has asked Tesha, I believe, is that right, Elizabeth?
Yes, Tesha Bus.
Okay.
She lives in Woodstock and is involved in the Woodstock Theater Department, actually, the Woodstock High School Theater Department, and she is our education committee representative.
I did list some of the things that are kind of on the docket right now in education. So universal meals, public funds to private schools, you probably heard about. That's been in the news a lot. School construction, school safety, childcare, and pre-K studies, and educator workforce development. So those are the things that she'll be chatting with us about in a couple of weeks. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention now that we're elections are have been completed. There are some trainings that I would recommend anyone that has time to attend, and I listed them there. They're all on the VSBA site, but there are some trainings for brand new board members, for officers. If you feel like you need training, and there's a board retreat training, which I'm interested in as well. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Christine. I was wondering, Amy's not here on the meeting any longer, and I was wondering whether you know whether the Vermont School Board Association plans to relent and allow Hudson to attend the training for new school board members.
I don't know, but I will find out.
If you could, that would really be great. I'd appreciate it.
Yep, I can find that out. And you said the VSBA, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's actually one part of the bill, is to make all board training open to student reps so that they can
I know
fully
the last
participate.
to the webinars, but I'm not sure about that one.
Okay. There was another one I found that this was just sent to me in an email, which is a collaboration between the VSBA and the VSA for board officers and superintendent training. So if anybody's interested in that, I will, there's a registration link. So I'll have Lori send these links out to everyone.
Okay.
And that is all for our administrative report tonight. I'm going to stop sharing so Hudson can do his, if that's next on the agenda, which I believe it is. Yes. Okay, Hudson, give me 1 second. Okay, you can take over.
Oh, hang on. I have to enter my password.
Okay.
Can I share my report with you and do it from here?
You sure can. Yep. Bear with us. It's Hudson's first report. He's not nervous. You're gonna send an email?
Yeah, I just sent it.
Okay, hold on 1 second. It's coming. It's gonna. All right, let's see. It's loading.
Okay.
My email's loading. Hold on, there we go. Okay. Okay.
I click it from yours? Or
Would you like to?
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Get out of your way.
Hi, everyone. So, my name is Hudson Rainey, and I am the student representative on the Mount Escutney School Board. So, I'm going to report out on Leader in Me. So, we're working on an action plan, which essentially, so Leader in Me is based on, we are breaking up into teams, which I'll display in this next slide. So, there's the coordinators, first of all, which is myself and another student, Tanner Moody, and we work with the consultant, Barbara Littender, to develop kind of as like a liaison to administration and to like to make sure all this, like the work is getting done with the students. So Jeff Beachy, her and myself met last Friday to discuss further plans. So our 4 action teams are teaching students to lead, which develops leadership skills curriculum, leadership environment, physical and mental, you know, how is your leadership space, shared leadership, working to implement shared leadership, and the coordination, which is communicating with administrators and making sure the work is happening. So these are the 7 Leader in Me habits. So be proactive, begin with the end in mind, but first things first, think win-win, seek to be understood, then be, seek first to be understand, then be understood, synergize and sharpen the saw. Lastly, this is a entire SU thing. We worked with the strategic plan consultant, Mike Nicholson, to so students from all grades in the SU as broke up with an administrator and usually about 3 or 4 different students to kind of bring like a message together to create more changes. So as you can see, there is myself and Sophia Dufour, who's another Windsor High School student, and Sophia, who's an Albert Bridge student. And then as you can see, we're listening to Mike give a little lecture. So yeah, that is my report. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. I have a question.
Elizabeth.
Go ahead, she can go first.
Thank you. My question is, what are you learning about shared leadership, and does it seem hard, or what's your approach to shared leadership, having explored it during this process?
Learning how to delegate, which is not always easy, kind of for me, but learning to like work together to solve problems instead of just working by yourself.
Thanks. Anything else?
I was just wondering if one thing that you may want to look at is with the Leader in Me approach, see, kind of identify or like if it's easier in certain grades than in other grades. Is it easier for middle school students? It would just be a really fun sort of exploration to get a sense of this is working really well for middle school students and maybe for some high school students, but does it work for elementary? I was just thinking about it. I mean, because there just seems to be so much exciting stuff going on there that I'm wondering, can some of the younger ones really embrace this? Can they wrap their arms around it and understand it and implement it? I know that I've seen some wonderful things come out of ABS that Jen has. So I mean, I know that they can do it. I'm just wondering though, is it more effective in some grades than in other grades? It's just a question I have. Not to be answered now, but
Yeah, we can write it down.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hudson.
Great
That
job,
was
Hudson.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Hudson. That was excellent.
Thank you.
And okay, okay. We are at items for discussion. And if you are a board member and you did read the model resolution that we've been talking about for a couple of months, please raise your hand.
You know, I read it, but it was some time ago.
Okay. Davis, did you read it?
I didn't, and I'm seeing it's not included in the packet, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put us off for one more month, and I will make sure to send it out at the end of this meeting so that we can really. I think we need to really circle back with this. So we have some things that are left undone here that we need to follow through on. And okay, that leaves us with school lunch visits. And we were going to talk also about, we were also going to talk about, where are you? Public outreach. So raise your hand if you made school lunch visits since our last meeting. Davis, can you tell us how it went?
It has been great. I think I've been by 3 or 4 times now.
Excellent.
I do have it on my calendar every week, and unfortunately it's middle of my workday, so things have come up a couple times and I haven't been able to make it. But on alternating Tuesdays and Thursdays, I try to be there from around 10:30 to noon or so if I can. It's been really fantastic. I've had great conversations with students. Mostly in the high school and middle school area, but I got to see some collaborative, like project-based learning with a couple of our middle school English teachers. I've had some fantastic conversations with students who are, not quite at that point where they're, applying for college or looking for jobs, but, talking about their options, whether it's students who are just on the edge of thinking about that. I have talked to some students who have applied and are sort of, were, telling me about what was motivating them to go where. Which brought me back to thinking about I wanted to go somewhere different and kind of far away from where I was when I was a student around here. And it was really great to hear some kids too who were thinking about going into trades. And there's one student I spoke to who was a sophomore was talking about stonemasonry and contracting work and kind of the pros and cons of getting union versus non-union jobs. And I was really impressed at the depth of understanding and thoughtfulness that went into those things. Cause I certainly was not on that level when I was 14, 15 years old. So yeah, I'm consistently impressed every time I go in with, just how intelligent and engaged and just really thoughtful our students are. And it's very nice of them to tolerate me, kind of dropping into their lunchtime and having conversations as a board member. But it's, it has been really fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else? Hudson?
I'm there every day.
What's that?
I'm there every day, but I think it's really good that board members who aren't in the building every day to come by, as it really does bridge that gap in between students and the board. And I think that that's something in the past that has been an issue and I think it's important to know who your school board members are, and that is bringing familiarity to the table.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
I want to just piggyback on what Hudson said, and that connection is important. I've attended a couple of the senior capstones, and it's just been really awesome to hear our seniors that are graduating from school present some very serious topics and are just really fluent and well-informed about what they're talking about, and that has been exciting. And Nancy and I also we were judges for the science fair, and that just gave us another opportunity to visit with a bunch of different students and the different efforts that they're jumping into, and wide variety of presentations, which was really exciting to see how they are just so diverse in their thinking. So yeah, I agree with Hudson. It's not only good for the students to see their board members, but also for board members to see their students.
Excellent. Well, if you haven't been down there, please try. I will do the same. And thank you for those of you who have been able to get down there and have some real interactions. That leads us very nicely into whatchamadoodle, the community engagement and community outreach. Is that right? Yep. Yes. So since it's been about 6 weeks since our last meeting, and if you've been on our board or with our board for the last couple of years, you've known that we were engaged in a lawsuit and that we couldn't discuss the details of the lawsuit. But now that one of the terms of the settlement was that we, at one point, well, one of the terms of the settlement is that we are able to talk about things, and so we are able to finally have some public forums, and we've been waiting since about a month after all of this happened. We've been waiting. We haven't been able to address it, but it's needed. And I think we have talked about having 3 separate forums, one for students, one for teachers, and one for the community at large. Is everybody still in agreement that that is a good approach, 3 separate discussions? I see some nodding heads. Okay. And I will say, wow, I haven't seen that before, Davis. The floating thumbs up, that was pretty remarkable. Okay. What I am determined, however, that thank you, Michael. Thank you for the floating thumbs up. I'm determined that these not just be chances for people for the board members to stand up and have people throw eggs at us. So I think it's important for our board to have a big productive discussions that we're able to move, that kind of propel us past and into the future. Yes, Davis.
Has there been any thought, and admittedly this conversation started before I was on the board, but has there been any thought about the format beyond there being those 3 different cohorts we're talking to as far as moderation? I know that.
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Okay, good. I figured you would, but I just wanted to make sure I got addressed.
I just want to confirm where we are and make sure that we're all on the same page before I get to everything else. Hudson?
Would these like include like a walkthrough of everything that happened? Because like from a student perspective, I have a lot of peers that were so confused on what happened, and there really needs to be like a full-on explanation, I feel like. And
Yeah,
like,
we can.
I mean, some of it confuses me, to be honest, because it's complex.
It's extremely complex. I think, unfortunately, I think the matter has been simplified quite a bit, but it is extremely complex. And in the interest of not having that part of it be a one-sided conversation, because there was a lawsuit involved, I will have to handle that carefully, because I don't want to. I don't think it's not the point to present our side. The point is to present the facts of what happened, and
Yes.
we'll have to think about that really carefully. But to answer your question, Davis, what I did was send out queries to the Vermont School Board Association and to several other known mediators. There were 4 people who work either in mediation or in restorative justice. And what I got back was a person from the Vermont School Board Association, and also a pair who are mediators, and they're also family counselors. I thought that actually was a really interesting idea, is having them be involved, because that's sort of, they work together to do that sort of thing, to kind of help move productive discussions to a conclusion that everybody can move on from. And so that is Tabitha Moore and Stefan Gillum, and I'll send you their resumes, and I'll also send you the resume of the person from the Vermont School Board Association. Those are the only 2 I heard back from, but I just wanted to, before I committed to anything, I wanted to make sure that we all agree in principle on where we are and what we would like to have happen. And that way I can communicate specifically to wherever it is we choose to work with. Let's see. Hudson, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that's a really great idea. I actually saw Tabitha Moore speak at a conference and in October, and it was really great. I think, but I'd like to look at the resumes, and I think, yeah.
I will say that the Tabitha and Stefan are the ones who told us how much it would cost. And for all 3 forums, plus 5 hours of preparation with the board in advance of which is pretty good, in advance of the 3 forums, they would be the facilitators. They would partner on all 3 facilitations, and that cost $2,500 for the 2 of them. So very reasonable. And I have not heard a budget from the VSBA. So just to keep you informed about it. Does anybody have any thoughts Davis, did you have some other thoughts about what you envision for this?
No, I
Besides
mean,
what you just described?
I just wanted to, and I'd assumed you would get to it. So if I kind of cut you off the pass there, no, I mean, I think that it is complex. There are a lot of emotions and opinions tied up in it. It's, you know, it's pretty unpleasant stuff. So I just want to make sure that if we are doing this kind of forum, these kind of community forums, and I think that we absolutely should, I just want to make sure that we have professional, prepared moderators there, so that it can be constructive and so that people can
Exactly.
show up.
Yes.
I'm not super concerned about, you know, metaphorically getting eggs thrown at me. I think that, you know, part of my role here is to take criticism. But
yeah, and
I'm
don't,
not saying that you're not
that's not
saying
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about having that be the purpose of the forum.
Sure.
That is not the purpose.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was getting
I
to.
don't mind having eggs thrown at me either, but I'm not going to choose to do that if that's the purpose of an event.
Of course, yeah, and I'm sorry if I gave the impression that I was. I think we're all pretty ready to take criticism, but I want to make sure that it's going to be constructive for everybody involved in it. So it sounds like there's some great options. I mean, $2,500. It was a 2,500, 25,000. You said
2,500.
Yeah, I mean that's extremely reasonable. But like Hudson, I'd want to check out some resumes and proposals for this and see who the best person is. But yeah, I think now that we are able to do it, we should definitely do it. And I hope that it can be ultimately a positive thing for our community, that we can get together and talk these things through, because even if there's conflict, that is how we learn.
And I should add that I had, as you know, for the last couple of years, I've been talking with Lisa Ryan about doing it. And she is now, she is teaching restorative justice and mediation at the Vermont Law School, and she really just doesn't have time. And she's also on the Vermont Women's Commission, and she doesn't have time to do that. So,
I
Bill?
think one thing that is important is that we do it at a reasonable time, because about this time of night, my filter's gone, and that's not a good thing.
I know. Yep. I think we will make sure that is the case. Nobody wants you to drop your filter, Bill.
Especially me.
I'm kidding.
I know you are, Elizabeth. I
say that endearingly, Bill.
Yes, I know.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is send the resumes of the people that I just mentioned and have them come for an interview at our next meeting. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. Hudson?
Would that be something done in like executive session?
I think so. Yep. That falls into executive session.
But is that something I can participate in?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Would that be something I'd be able to participate in, since it's...
You could participate in that, yeah.
Okay.
Because you won't be voting on it. Yep. And it's not a, we usually, the things you're not allowed to participate in are things that we vote on. And so if we went into executive session, interviewed these people, and then we wouldn't vote. We don't vote on anything at all in executive session. But if it's something of a personal nature, or if it's a sensitive personnel matter, you wouldn't be able to be in there. But usually in executive session, we go into executive session. If we're going to vote on anything, we come out and vote in public. We never vote privately. That's very against the law.
So I do have a question, Elizabeth.
Yes. Is that Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay.
If I was hoping, or I thought that we would be looking at trying to set up some times to meet with our community. And if we wait until our next meeting, that means that we really won't be taking any action on this until after the 10th of April.
Yeah.
That it's just something that's going through my mind, and I don't know
Well, so Should we, I mean, I guess we could decide on dates now.
Mhm.
Davis?
I don't think it's a good idea to decide on dates before we have a facilitator chosen, because
Yeah.
we need to make sure that they can be there. So
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, Rebecca. I think now that we're in this place where we can do it, I want to do it as soon as possible, but I also don't want to sacrifice the quality of the forum that we can have in order to do it too fast.
I agree. It makes it feel like that's one of the requirements is that they can make those dates. And that's not one of the requirements. I would hope that we would make the dates together. The other option is that we could have a separate meeting and interview them in a separate meeting so that at our next meeting we can solidify dates and plans with them. Yes, Davis?
Yeah, I'd be amenable to that. And if we can do that and move the process forward faster with somebody chosen in the loop, I just, don't want to create barriers for ourselves that we don't have to create.
Yep. Anybody else have thoughts?
I would, I think we should just have a separate meeting where we interview them before. I think that'd be.
Okay. Nancy, thumbs up. Bill, thumbs up. Okay. And I'd like it if you could all just pipe in with the days not to have a separate meeting.
Wednesdays are generally not good for me. Can do them in a pinch, but not preferred.
Okay. That's the same with you, right, Bill? Wednesday's bad for you. Yes. Nancy, you are bad on Thursdays.
Not all the time.
Okay.
Everything switches, so I can always accommodate.
Okay. What about you, Hudson?
Wednesdays are a little tricky for about the next month, but
Wednesday's out. Wednesday has already been scratched out. It's dead to us.
Okay, perfect. Anytime.
Okay. All right. Christine Bourne, what about you?
I am flexible. I have some other board meetings, but I think when those occur.
Okay. And Rebecca Roisman, what about you?
I'm flexible, but if you're gonna do it within the next 2 weeks, the last week of March, I may not be available.
Okay. It sort of depends on when they can do it too.
Okay.
I absolutely cannot meet on Thursdays really at all. It's going to be Monday or Tuesday. And if it's a Monday, it's going to have to be next week because the week after that is the SU meeting.
Correct.
So count on it being a Monday or Tuesday. And okay. The current time is 8:18. We're at items for action. Okay. We need to accept with tremendous regret the resignations and retirements of our 4 employees. Let's see, where are they? Julie Aylward, which is with tremendous regret. She's the only one among the 4 that I really know here. And she will definitely be missed. Davis McGraw.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in a word there too. Julie is also the only one of the 4 who I know, although I'm aware of the great work that the other 3 folks have done. But I think that, Julie spent 25 years really keeping this vibrant, just really amazing theater program alive. It's meant a lot to so many students throughout the years, including me, right way back at the beginning of those 25 years, just about. And I think, Julie really deserves a lot of recognition for standing up something really amazing. It's going to be some really big shoes to fill to continue such a wonderful program. But just really sincerely, I want to thank Julie for the time that she's put in as our theater program director.
Thank you, Davis. Nancy?
My granddaughter is in the theater program right now, and she's devastated. So I thank her very much too for all she's done for us.
Likewise, I think she's had that effect on many hundreds and thousands. I mean, actually thousands of students. And so our son also is sad about it. Hudson?
Julie has been great to work with for the past few years that I've known her, and she will be highly missed, but I'm very happy that she was able to retire.
And I also would really sincerely like to thank Elizabeth Martins for all that she did to get us through the pandemic.
Yes.
She was remarkable in keeping us steady. So I'm sorry that she's leaving right now, but I just want to thank her for her leadership, and really her leadership. I don't know how we would have maneuvered that smoothly without her. So, okay, I'll take a motion to accept the retirements and resignations of Julie Aylward, Richard Zwicker, Elizabeth Martins, and Ashley Morse.
So moved, Davis.
Second, Nancy.
Okay. And Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Davis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nancy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rebecca, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I, with great regret, vote aye. Thank you all for your service to our students and our district. And now we have the election validation. So, Christine,
Yes.
could you please hold my hand for a minute?
I sure can. So after speaking with JP Isabel, I think his last name is at the state. He's the elections expert. And in speaking with Sean Toohey at Lynn & Lynn, our legal counsel, based on some of the concerns about Amy being in the election hall, it was their recommendation that Amy come to the meeting and share that she was there and explain her involvement in the process. And then they recommended that the board, 2/3 of the board sign what's called an election validation resolution, which I'm happy to read out loud. I have it here in front of me, but only Rebecca is here, so I'm happy to read it. And it's just it's a document. It's titled Mount Escutney School Board Resolution concerning the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting. And it says, whereas the Mount Escutney School District intended to conduct the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting in accordance with Vermont statutes, where some district voters have alleged that the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting was not conducted in accordance with Vermont statutes, and whereas pursuant to 17 VSA 2262, the Mount Escutney School Board wishes to cure and correct any errors, omissions, or defects in the conduct of the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting and validate the action of the qualified voters at the meeting. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Mount Escutney School Board finds and states that any errors, omissions, or defects arising from actions not conducted in accordance with Vermont statutes at the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting of the Mount Escutney School District were the result of oversight, inadvertence, or mistake, we therefore vote to validate the action of the qualified voters at the March 7th, 2023 annual meeting. It's dated and then it's signed, and it needs to be signed by 2/3 of the board. So I can give it to Rebecca, or I can have Lori send it out electronically.
Is it okay to do it electronically? Okay. So what I'd like to do is, because it has to be signed, but by 2/3 of the board, which means
4. 4.
4/5.
4 out of 6 board members is 2/3.
Well, we currently only have 5 members on our board.
So that would be 3 1/3. I don't know how you do that, right? Is that right? Bill, you're the math guy.
Why don't we just send it out virtually and we'll all sign it?
Well, I guess what I was going to ask is whether there's anybody. I don't want to put you on the spot, but does anybody want to discuss this and whether we want to sign this?
I'm not sure what we're signing. I didn't quite understand everything she was saying.
Well, you'll read it when you see it. Christine just read it, and it's a statement saying we basically the sample ballot was not affixed to the front door of the Story Memorial Hall, and there were a couple of other. Yes.
This is not that one. That's a separate
Oh,
one.
that's a separate one.
That we will talk about at the public meeting on the 19th. This is about Amy being in the election hall. So basically, she made a statement about the error, the omission, and this is the board recognizes that there was an error, and they agree that it was a mistake, and they validate the action of the voters on that meeting on the 7th.
Okay, so how does that square with recounting the vote?
The recount happens if,
okay.
If it's registered. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Nancy, it is just acknowledging publicly that there were some missteps made in the election process, but there wasn't anything egregious, and that it's none of it was purposeful, and it just was some errors and definitely some miscommunications. And that's what you would be attesting to by signing.
Elizabeth, I'm taking, there are some hands up in 210, just so you know.
Okay. Bill?
It's of course my understanding as well that if enough of the community is concerned about this, then there is a process to either call for a revote, or that would be the process. They would have to get signatures and petition and so forth. I'm not suggesting that should happen or will happen, but I mean, there are.
Well, what we're talking about right now, Bill,
I know,
is the form and whether you're comfortable with it or not comfortable with it.
Well, I think, let me restate what I think what Christine read is that we are saying that there were mistakes, but they were not egregious enough to change the election. Is that correct, Elizabeth?
What we're saying is that there were some mistakes made, and that there were faulty pieces of the process, like not having the district clerk be present. If the district clerk had been present, it might have looked differently that day.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it is what it is. The district clerk wasn't there. And when I received word from Amy that the district clerk had to be there by 2:30, I contacted her. She couldn't be there. And because Justin had acted as our moderator, my husband Justin had acted as our moderator during the budget meeting, I asked him if he could rush down there so that there would be somebody, and he agreed to do that, and that's how that happened. It was all, trying to patch some holes that very suddenly appeared. And had there been 100 volunteers for ballot counting, it would have been a whole different thing. Had there been 100 people like ready to volunteer, would have been a whole nother thing, but that is not what happened. So maybe in the recount, well, I guess the Board of Civil Authority will be doing the recount, so we don't have to worry about getting volunteers, but it is a big problem. And they had to count by hand. And so they were, it's hard to get volunteers to agree to hand count ballots until 12:30 in the morning. So thank you to those who did that for our district. Tremendous thanks.
May I share one suggestion that the election official offered to mitigate the problem in the future?
Yes.
Okay, so in some towns, in Heartland where I worked prior, the town clerk was the school district clerk.
And now it is. Now the town clerk and the district clerk are the same person.
Yes, because they are. And that is a stipended position. So the school board pays the school district clerk, the town clerk, who is also the school district clerk, a sum of money to do that work, because it is work, running an election.
Yeah, you know how much it is?
Yeah, it's $4,000.
What?
Yep, that's what they pay the town clerk in Heartland. I do know that. And the town pays a matching fee. Yes.
Huh.
And that may be for the town clerk services all year long. And there might be some other jobs in there that I'm not aware of.
I'm not sure that I don't think that's the way that it is for us, but
it hasn't been. It has not been for Windsor, but in some towns, in many towns, JP shared that that's how it works.
Yep. We don't have that kind of a budget for that job, which is why we have a hard time finding somebody to do it.
Right.
So
something to think about.
Yes, definitely.
Because it is hard to get people. Now, there are some hands in the in 210. Are you taking questions or comments?
Let me ask the rest of the board members first whether they have anything they would like to say. Anybody else on the board have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, my interpretation of what we would be signing is that it's essentially saying that we acknowledge that mistakes were made, like process errors happened, but we do not believe that there was any malfeasance intended. There was no intentional malice behind those process errors, and that the process itself came out intact despite those errors. Is that a good way to summarize it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nancy, do you have any more questions? Rebecca, I haven't heard your voice. Do you have any questions?
No, I think that Dave has helped me understand it a little bit clearer. So it's basically signing off, saying, acknowledging the questions about the process. But what I wasn't clear about is, Christine, you mentioned that the Board of Civil Authorities are, okay, what's that piece?
So I've learned a lot this week, I'll tell you.
That consists of that is the town clerk is the chair of the Board of Civil Authority.
Yep.
And then it's the
Select board members and
there's
then
the select board member and the listers?
any justices.
JPs. Yep, that's what it is. Thank you.
So that is
Listers
the
wouldn't
board.
make any sense. JPs.
Yeah.
And so, for example, in Brownsville, it's the select board, and I think we have 3 JPs who do it. They're the people who count our votes in West Windsor. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got some hands.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify real quick.
Okay.
So part of what kind of got us in this pickle is that the town clerk and the district clerk are the same person. So the town clerk is Amy.
Not this year. The town clerk, there was a different school district clerk. But it's my understanding.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just thinking for like, so.
For next year.
For next year, you know, or in elections to come, if the town clerk, or if the district clerk is the one on the ballot.
Yep.
What will that look like? Who will be the one to step in to take the place of the district clerk?
I will get the answer. I have that very same question, and I will get that answer to you. I promise. Okay. Who asked that question?
It was Caitlin.
Okay. Thank you. The next person who asks a question, if you wouldn't mind saying your name loudly, it would be helpful.
More questions?
My name is Molly Madison, Windsor, Vermont. I just, that we kind of moved past it, and I think David's explained the letter that you wrote very well.
I didn't write it.
But, well, you haven't looked at it, sorry. But I just want to point out, this is more directed towards, I'm not trying to, but Elizabeth, this kind of is one of those examples of when you question whether or not that you folks even needed to sign it, or whether you would question signing it or not. That's a really good example of, I think, one of the town's member brought up that it sometimes feels like you don't take what we say seriously. If someone has an opposing opinion to you, it sometimes feels like you kind of just brush it under and move on and don't really want to hear it. You cut people off. So it's just something to consider, that you may want to approach it a little differently when I mean, it just was very clear. Bill, I see you smiling. Your expressions say a lot, and I wish everyone was in person so that this could be in, you know, back and forth conversation and actually be more real. But that was, I mean, it's gone above and beyond that. It's kind of past the point, but that's the feeling you give.
I deeply apologize I deeply apologize if I come across as being dismissive. I am not dismissing. I think I read in the beginning the statement that said that public comment is not a time for the board to respond to things unless it's for clarification or for making a correction. Public comment is simply for public comment. And I can reread the statement if you want to, but it's not a time to be. I mean, we have other formats for that. It's, you know, we can have a forum or another type of meeting, but the purpose of a school board meeting is actually to conduct board business. And I can't hear what's going on at the moment, but
I'm scared for our kids and you being in charge.
So the question is, if the board meeting is the avenue for taking public comment, and the board is not responding to the public comment at the board meeting, when is public comment taken where there can be a back and forth and a response? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the question. And you were talking and Molly was talking at the same time, so it was hard I think it was hard for you to hear her and for her to hear her. But that was the question.
So I will reread the statement that I read in the very beginning, which incidentally, I read it at every single meeting. every meeting. And it says, public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. I read that before the public comment at every single meeting, and I have done that for the last 3 years. So if I apologize if that takes you off guard, but this is the way that this is the way that the law works. We're not doing anything differently. I'm not cutting anybody off. It is true, I didn't allow the one commenter who doesn't live in our district to comment on our voting process because he doesn't have a vested interest. The person whose name is under Casey Dillingham, because he doesn't have a vested interest in our process. He simply has an opinion, and we haven't allowed people outside of our district historically to make comments. And that's not new. None of this is new. So I'm sorry if you fear for your children. But who was it who had their hand up? I saw a hand. Justin Burrows.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Janice. And it's both. Okay.
I'd actually put my hand down, but the reason I was making hot dogs during the earlier public comment section, so I wasn't able to say that. But yeah, as Elizabeth mentioned, I was voluntold that they needed help in Windsor, and so I just want to say I really recommend it. It's a really wonderful experience to sit there and to help people, to hand them their votes. I would also say that I'm the town auditor in West Windsor, which means that I help with the town report. So I really appreciate the process of everybody coming together. I also know a lot of the people that are JPs, because there's a lot of people that volunteer a lot with the city community. One of those, two of those are Barbara Truex and Nancy Gaynor. Nancy Gaynor is one of the town auditors with me, and she helps me. She's great. I watched them both show up with the locked box. Barbara had the key, Nancy had the box, and watched them bring them in. And then I counted with Liz Frederick, another lady from Windsor, and the newly elected sheriff, Ryan Palmer. Ryan and I were actually partners in counting. And the gentle lady from Windsor, not to be overly formal, did the full ballot count. While it was invigorating to see be part of the process of democracy, it was very tiring and very repetitive and not especially fun, but you still felt good after it. So we tried to get Nancy and Barbara to do it and to help us, and they weren't able to. So if you want to come down and help count votes in the next election, I highly recommend it. It's great for the civic spirit. It's a very under-resourced area, but it really is great, and everybody got along. It's as a couple of people here representing the employees of the Windsor Rec. You also had, and Tom was there. Everybody's in the same room. So the votes came in. I looked at the votes and said, we've got to count all of that. And then we broke them up into 25 ballot piles. And then we counted them on tally sheets, put the tally sheets bracketed to the votes themselves. And then they went into a roller with, I believe, her name is Riley, who works for the town of Windsor, made a very wonderfully done town report. We shared notes on that. It was a great experience. We need more people. Anyway, and then we took the votes and we put them in that little rollaway, and we walked out of there around, I think, 12:30. I'm sure Tom can speak to that.
Thank you, Justin. Tom?
Fortunately, I was able to bail much earlier than that. So, but anecdotally, I did hear it was like after midnight before everyone got out. I was just curious who the school clerk that wasn't able to make it, who is that person and when were they appointed?
We have historic, I'm sorry? What did you say?
We were not aware of school clerk, and I was just curious to who that person is and when they were appointed.
Well, we have historically had a very difficult time finding a town clerk because it only pays $50. It doesn't pay $4,000 in our district. And so we all, I hope, kind of racked our brains to find somebody. And I think it was
Well, the board has to vote on that. So, like the school board has, I was just, like we had a number of back and forths before the election, and my understanding is that there was not one.
Yep, there was, I'm trying to think when it was. It was the it was a Monday before our budget meeting that I got Chris Dolan to agree to come, and I believe we voted on it at the budget meeting.
Okay, I'm just, the reason I bring it up is at least on the town side, the town clerk has to be the one who takes responsibility for the election. And if there is a sitting, and the town clerk will not take responsibility for the education election, but if there is one in place, my understanding would be, if it's the same with the schools with the town, that person then would hold the responsibility for the election process.
I know it's been, as I said, it's been a very, it's a thing. We have, just to clarify, we have trouble with it every year. But now we just, as if you were here from the beginning of the meeting, you saw that we did elect a district clerk. So we are square for next time.
Yep. Okay. So I'm sorry, you said it was still, who is the person you think was the one for this past one?
Her name is Chris Dolan. She's from
the
Brownsville.
town administrator in West Windsor?
Yep.
Okay.
And she was there at the budget meeting, and then she was unable to do the stuff on town meeting day.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
There's two hands in the room, Elizabeth, James, Aldridge, and Rebecca.
You go. I just, as I'm listening to Justin and some other people, I didn't know that there were lots of eyes on this. So this was not something that someone, I'm just wondering, you're talking about Ryan Palmer, you're talking about all these other folks. So it sounds like there were lots of eyes on this process.
Not as many as there could or should be, because usually there's a lot more people counting, but there were plenty of people there. Justin, I saw your hand.
I just briefly wanted to say, yeah, there were at least 6 people but we would always, it's always better to have more people. It's a process. It goes much faster. So I definitely recommend, if you want to count votes, many hands makes light work.
Is James is in the audience here.
Okay.
James Aldridge.
So I'm James Aldridge. I'm the rec director in the Windsor Rec Department. You talked about what you read every day, and we model what the kids want to be like. So I've known Caitlin 25 years. I've known Amy McMullen 25 years. I'm not biased towards either of them, but I do know, right, if I'm going in to vote and Caitlin is standing in front of the ballot box, I don't want Caitlin to know that I'm not going to vote for her. And I don't want Amy to know that I'm not going to vote for her. And we do live in a small community, okay? That's no different than if an official is reffing his kid's game in a varsity game. There is some kind of bias there. Now we have Justin Burrows, right, counting the votes for Elizabeth Barrows, who she's the chair. Okay, we have Amy McMullen sitting there watching the ballots go in the box. And now it's not just what happens, it's what perception may be if you read the statutes. Okay, it's not just Caitlin getting votes and it's not just Amy getting votes, it's everything in between. Does somebody have access to the vault, right? And I know Amy, I do not think by any means she did anything wrong, right, maliciously. But it's not, you can't just go in and say, hey, I voted for you or you voted, and you can see it. There's people that work with her that do not want her not knowing that she didn't vote for them. And I'm not saying they did, but I do know people that are in that situation that have known certain people for a long time. If I didn't vote for Caitlin, and I wouldn't want her knowing that, right? So if you're signing this document, you're saying that everything was fair. What you want the kids to do in school is fair, right? That's what you just read off that thing. So do you 100% think that this was fair by who was in play, right? There's no bias. Take your bias out. Who do you want in there? Who cares if you want Caitlin? Who cares if you want Amy? Do you think that it was fair, period? That's all I'm asking.
I appreciate that, James. Just to clarify, I wasn't on the ballot, and I don't.
No, you're right. I know. I never said you were on the ballot.
Okay.
Your husband was counting the votes, but you're the chair of the board.
Yeah, no, I know. But he was also the moderator for our district. And that was why I thought that it was.
Right, I get that. But I also can't run for the select board because I can't say yes or no on a budget that I pay for. That's what our charter.
Right. Yep.
It's all of it. I'm just asking if it's fair, if you take it in the big picture of things, right? We want a fair election process, period.
Yep. Ryan Palmer, I see that you just came onto this meeting, and I wonder if you have something to say, because it's odd for somebody to log on to a meeting so late.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that maybe my name or things that I supposedly said were brought up and that I should probably tune in. So I don't know if you had questions for me or
Your voting buddy Justin said he just raised his hand so he could clarify, but he just said that he was with you and that you counted votes together. Justin?
That is a true statement. I was reporting who was counting votes.
That's it, Ryan.
All right. Yeah. So, okay. I think there was some communication. I don't know. It was communicated to me that it was implied that I was implying that like Amy fixed the election or anything like that, which I want to clarify in public that I've never said that. I think that there were some issues with how it was handled from her end, but
Justin and I counted votes. There was no, I can assure you that there's no voter fraud going on. If that was implied by anybody, I certainly think that this was not the way that the election probably should have been handled. But that's all I wanted to input.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Okay, so let's see. Our next thing is, I believe it's setting the next agenda. What I've written down, two things so far, or three things so far. The first one is the outcome of the recount. The second one is moving forward with community outreach and forums. And the third one is, where is it? The model school board resolution.
Elizabeth, what was the first one?
The first one was the outcome of the recount.
Okay.
The second one was moving forward with community outreach and forums.
Yeah.
And the third one was the model school board resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I have Davis McGraw and Bill Yates in that order raising your hands. Is there something else you'd like to get on the agenda?
There's one thing that I think, and do we still have our principals here? Kate might be able to confirm or deny this. I know that I believe at the February meeting, Kate was going to, or one of the principals was going to speak to like a visitor policy update for the school.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think, and I believe that got lost when the February meeting got dropped and budget and hiring a superintendent sort of took all of our collective attention. But I would like to put that on the next agenda because I think that is an important topic. And just a reminder, and I trust this will happen, but if we can just make sure the model school board policy does make the packet this time.
Yep.
Because if it's there, I will happily read it.
Okay. Okay.
I'll put it under the admin report. I'll see. Davis, just an update on that. Okay.
Bill?
Yeah, I have two things that I don't want for the next school board meeting, but I want to put on everyone's radar as we get closer to the end of the year. I have been skiing quite a bit at Ascutney Outdoors, and I want to explore the possibility of creating a Windsor, West Windsor, well, a Mount Ascutney School Board, Mount Ascutney School District opportunity for students to go on Saturday or Sunday for a weekend ski club. That's one thing. And another thing, I of course, being a school board member and being on skiing, I was approached by several parents and about certain concerns about grading and reporting. So something to discuss at some point. I'd like to touch base with some administrators first and then kind of see how we could explore that. So those are two things I want on the upcoming radar for the rest of the school year.
Okay. Does anybody else, Hudson, do you have something you'd like to add to the next agenda?
Just probably a report from me. I'm not sure if that's automatically.
Put it automatically. Yeah.
And Rebecca, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I'd like to find out where our students are going after graduation. And I'm wondering if we can dig a little bit deeper, because I know sometimes they'll just say, it's kind of like, what do they call that? A gap year or something? You know, if they can just dig a little bit deeper on, yeah, but what do you see yourself doing? Working in, Price Chopper, if, we can get something a little bit deeper from students on what's on their mind in terms of post-high school.
Yeah, and that was on the agenda, and Kate said it was a little bit early, so she will bring it back for next time.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay, for next.
yeah, I will make sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Nancy, do you have anything that you'd like to add for our next agenda?
Nope. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else? If not, we still need to do an executive session.
Yeah, it'll be quick.
I'll take a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
To go into executive session.
Ah.
Bill second.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording.
Thank
That's
you for
okay.
showing up, people.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're here.
It should be an in-person meeting. There's no reason why right now we can't do that.